In 2012, the Minnesota legislature linked video pull tabs with Viking Stadium funding, and eventually those two were delinked in 2013 when expectations of revenue from the EPull tabs was falling short. Here to discuss the issue and where they're going to go with EPull tabs, we have the executive director of the Gambling Control Board, Tom Barrett. Thanks for joining us today, Tom.
Good to be here, Julie. Thank you.
Let's begin with that question. Do you think the public still connects EPull tabs with Viking Stadium?
Definitely. I mean, that's been in the news the last 2 years. We worked very hard once the legislature passed that allowance to make it happen. Certainly rolled out with the new standards, but obviously less than receptive in terms of the rollout of the sites that are offering electronic pull tabs, and it's still out there.
And the number of those sites with electronic gaming as of September of 2013 is 302. The initial expectation was about 1,200. What happened?
Good question. Again, I think there's a number of different factors, but I think the best thing we can kind of put our head on is the wait and see approach. A lot of these charities, and not to go back to my parents when we talked, programming a VCR, but it's new technology. And so I think truly there's some reliance on what's working in other locations, what's not. And we see some of those examples. So we've actually reached out to the industry in terms of some data and reports. Hey, here's some sites that are doing very well. You don't read about that. But a good example is Porky's Bar in St. Paul. Some of the folks have heard about it. A corner bar, truly, about the size of the studio, very small. Set a record in September for $95,000 in electronic pull tab sales. But you didn't read about that. You don't hear much about that. And so what we're trying to do is take those sites, and there's Roosevelt Bar doing shout-outs up in Eveleth, another corner bar. Doing very well, but it's an example where the charity works with the bar owner, who also works with the vendors providing the product, and doing very good in terms of sales. So our focus now, the board regulatory focus, is just to simply say, there are successful sites where it's working. Talk to them and see where it goes. But I think the biggest thing is the wait and see.
Now, you testified recently to a legislative committee, and you believe that the future of electronic gaming is very viable. So do you consider, and it's safe to say that it's your job to try to move this forward. So how do you move it forward?
Very good question. Again, everything we've seen in technology, what we were demonstrating to the legislature 2 years ago is outdated. Technology is moving that fast. But with that said, there's still play for paper, so I want to make sure that those players that are understanding and how they play the game, we still planning for new paper games. But the market, whether you're talking about a tribal industry or the Minnesota State Lottery, all forms of gaming are looking towards new automation to help with their games. And charitable gaming is simply in that group as well.
Well, and let me be blunt. Do you think that part of the lower than expected revenue that came in, do you think maybe some of that is a residual effect from the stadium issue, maybe some resentment by Minnesotans?
That could be. We've heard that. I don't want to support that. But in reality, and this is where, in the details of the legislation was passed, it's not just the electronic games. It's actually all forms. Once the gross receipts from charitable gaming hit a certain mark, anything beyond that would all go towards the bonding. So it wasn't just the electronic gaming.
Do you think this is a matter, and you touched on it briefly, but is it a matter of just waiting for the tech-savvy generation to kind of catch up here? How do you move away from the social aspects of regular paper pull tabs and move it into this iPad generation, for lack of a better phrase?
And our focus is not, to accommodate the social end, but we understand that where groups will go in and play the paper and split them up. But we've also seen examples where they have a simple iPad and it passes around the table. So our focus isn't so much trying to satisfy as the board. We certainly see manufacturers looking to expand, given the media, the Facebook, the Twitter, that kind of social. One of the successful sites that are doing very well promotes when they have a big winner at their bar. It goes off on a Twitter feed and Facebook. So those are things outside of our realm, our regulatory focus, but what some of the successful sites are dealing with in terms of helping to get the word out.
And so is it really inevitable that gaming is going to navigate towards this tech? Lottery, EPull tabs, video bingo, is it coming?
It's certainly what the legislature allows, but it's coming. I mean, we've seen other states that have replicated our laws, our standards for the equipment. Minnesota was the first in the country to roll out or to propose the standards, and frankly, we're very pleased that others are looking to Minnesota. We certainly don't have the numbers of sales happening. That's some of the concern, rightfully so, in other states. But everything we've seen technology-wise, the integrity, this is one thing I'll speak from a positive aspect. We have the ability to monitor games that we've never had when we looked at the paper. Paper's still there. We don't think it's going to go away anytime soon. But the fact that we have the #1 paper manufacturer that is licensed in Minnesota, Aero International, is now getting into the electronic equipment mode. That tells us, even with the paper vendors, they're looking at what's ahead in technology. So it's coming. I think the legislature and the governor, for what they allowed charitable gaming, certainly put them on the right track. But if they're not moving forward, other entities, be it the lottery, certainly are going to come.
Tom, let me ask you, we've already debunked the myth that EPull Tabs and Viking stadiums are linked together currently. But is revenue for the stadium from video gaming an option in the future at all, or is it totally off the table?
Well, I think the focus, and rightfully so, and the legislature looked at the numbers, said we need a better backup, and they proposed that and passed that last year. But it's still there. I think they're hopeful that the charities and the locations where they offer the primary games, bars, will recognize this opportunity. And I don't mean to use that term loosely, but it is an opportunity that they've been afforded in terms of automating their games, and I think staying with the competition, as it may, from the other gaming entities. So what they elect and how they elect to run with that is certainly up to the industry.
So my last question for you, and I don't really mean to put you on the spot here, but what do you think Minnesotans can gain from choosing the video gaming as opposed to the paper?
I think it offers, there'll always be paper players for as long as the games are offered. I think if you have an experience on the video, the electronic version, there's more animation. There's a little more game enhancement as opposed to just opening up and seeing if you got a winning ticket. And we see some of the vendors of the new product game designs where they're offering an extended play. It's not just an open and win or lose. It continues on. And those are some of the features I think that players will enjoy, just the playability.
So it's still a winning idea?
Still a winning idea.
Bad pun, I know.
No, that's good. I appreciate that.
Thanks, Tom, for coming in today. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.